Welcome to this episode of the Vegan Family Podcast.
I'm excited to always talk to you, Cheryl. I'm excited about some of the topics we're going to cover in this episode around meal planning, recipes, foods for your family. I think it should be a really great episode.
Yeah, I always just like talking about food. I am a stereotypical vegan in that way.
It defines us. So we'll be right back after this.
It's time for Animal Outlook's Vegan Family Podcast with your hosts, Eric C. Lindstrom and Cheryl Leahy.
And we're back.
Yes. So you went to an event recently in California. Is that right? Tell me about this.
Yeah, so this is the second year. I just last night went to the first of 4 sessions at this local church that just happens to be in my neighborhood. You know, it's usually I would have really no occasion to interact with these guys, but this is the second year that I'm going to their 4-week plant-based cooking school is what they call it. And so they have every week they have like a cooking demo and a lecture. And what's kind of cool about it is, you know, it's like the health side, which we should talk about the, you know, how that intersects or should intersect more with the animal motivated people.
Right.
You know, they have a really cool lecture. Last night's lecture was the Dr. Shirzai, you know, the Alzheimer's. It's a couple. It's like him and his wife. They're both Dr. Shirzais, I think.
Shirzai squared.
Yeah, exactly. And then his daughter was there last night, which was really cute. They talk about basically how to prevent Alzheimer's through diet and some lifestyle things, but really focused a lot on diet. And I had heard about them through the kind of healthy vegan world. And then like this one of these, like, you know, circulator, like local newspaper or kind of like glossies that come in the mail for my local city had them on the cover because they're part of this Blue Zones project. I don't know how much you know about these Blue Zones. So our city is in one of these Blue Zones projects. So that's like the healthiest places in the world have these qualities for lifestyle and, you know, long living, healthy living, all that. So there's like exercise components and diet components and all that. So, you know, it was interesting because, you know, it's funny to see the same sort of themes or people showing up in different parts of your life. But, you know, that was the first time I'd heard him speak. And then they did a cooking demo. And then next week they're going to have Ray Cronise, who, you know, we've known through the health vegan world. He's the one who got Penn Teller to eat whole foods plant-based and lose a bunch of weight and stuff. So that's actually the way that kind of our family got more involved in learning about the healthy vegan stuff. But what was kind of cool about last night is, so this is the second year I've done this. Last year I left the kids at home. This year I brought the kids, and my older one was just so excited about like watching them do the cooking demo and like learning about cooking. And then they send you home with this recipe book. And it's free. The whole thing is free. And there was like 300 people there, something like that.
Oh my gosh. That is huge.
Yeah. So it's this whole other world. It's like this parallel. It's like ships in the night sometimes between the animal people and the health people when it comes to veganism. I think it's because it's like a different demographic, maybe. Like this group older, tended, I'm going to just say more conventional, like, right? Like just your sort of typical suburbanites, which is interesting, you know, maybe that's the way to get them.
You'd mentioned before we were recording that this is a Seventh-day Adventist church, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, don't hold me to that because I don't know.
Okay.
But I know that that's part of the, like, what puts it on as a Seventh-day Adventist. I'm not sure this particular church is seven. But anyway, this particular church is very involved. Yeah, they advocate vegetarianism, veganism.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic because, in fact, here in sort of the Northeast in Pennsylvania, there's the Summerfest, which is just recently been renamed Vegan Summerfest. It was Vegetarian Summerfest for years.
Nice.
And because of its location, it has a Seventh-day Adventist backing or bend to it. This is where Dr. Greger comes and does his big speech for the first time. This is where Dr. Campbell comes and Esselstyn's and everybody that we're talking about in terms of the whole foods plant-based community. So when you said that, I was like, this is fantastic to have that kind of a turnout on a weekly basis in your community.
Well, they do
at
it
an event.
for the October. It's 4 weeks. But then throughout the year, they do, I think, like a once a month event or something.
That's great. Well, I'm envious that you got to go, and I'd love to hear more about the future events as well. It sounds really great.
Yeah, I think it's if anybody's in LA area, is in the South Bay, but and they do it every October, and then like I said, throughout the year they have like a once a month event. But it was interesting to me, having sort of heard some of this material before. Just looking more at this kind of sociology of the occasion, seeing like what got people excited, who was there, what is the kind of attitude, like the daughter went up and did part of the cooking demo, and she was kind of joking about like, there are people who say, where do you get your protein? It's probably somebody who's like not healthy person says, where do you get your protein? Which was like a cute sort of joke. But we would make the same joke, except say it's probably somebody who like doesn't care about animals. So it's interesting to me, to see that from a kid's point of view. Like I've always sort of thought that kids are naturally predisposed much more to align with animal issues, that like just getting excited about having healthy living well into their 80s and 90s is really not going to cite an 8-year-old or whatever. Yeah. So it was interesting. I mean, obviously she's an unusual kid because of who her parents are, and, she's really talented and everything. And probably just very responsible. Maybe that's like where the health interest comes from. But, there's gotta be more that we can do to really kind of provide literacy. The animal people need sort of more of the health side literacy, and the health people need to know what's happening to the animals, because I think that this could be, sort of a more than the sum of its parts situation if we were able to mix these crowds, a little bit better. They do a great job, like kind of teaching you about how to take incremental steps to get there, like what's wrong with thinking about things in terms of just motivation and willpower, all this, like the public health world gets how hard it is to, resist the food environment's temptations, basically. Yeah. And that, I think that's kind of cool. I also kind of got the sense from this, that maybe people like, this, we can have this whole other conversation about plant-based and vegan some other time. But it was interesting to me that I don't get the sense that many of these people would, show up at a vegan festival, right? Like that they would be like just sort of out and proud vegans. And I think we are living in this world where there's all these like sort of sleeper vegans, like, ready to be activated, right? Like in the right circumstance. Yeah. It's like, we've got these like operatives everywhere. And you would have no idea, like, right. I mean, nobody's like, dressing like an activist, kind of presenting that way, like the way that you would sort of think about your stereotypical vegan. And we've talked over the years at COK, we've talked about like, how do we kind of communicate that message that like vegans are everywhere, every demographic, every, ideology, like everything, right? Like any kind of measure of diversity you could possibly imagine, like they're out there. And I think, I think personally, like it is imperative in a way to kind of admit it, like at least in key moments. People are worried about being impolite, or they're worried about, failing at their attempts to be vegan or whatever. And maybe those are the reasons that they're not like, hey, like I'm vegan, I'm happy about it, I love it. Because most people, if you really press them, they would do that, but they're not going to offer that information despite the stereotypes otherwise. Because it's funny because people like, how do you know someone's vegan? How do you know someone's vegan joke? Like they'll tell you, but it's those are only the people who are like the most assertive and the loudest ones. Like you don't know, probably that's just the tip of the iceberg. So there is something about,
a vegan letting people know they're vegan, because in our case, or at least in my case, I do want to sort of weave in the animal rights messaging, and I want to, talk about my own vegan journey and how proud I am to be vegan. But as you're saying, there are a lot of people out there, a lot of them here where I live too, that subscribe to this whole foods plant-based diet, who not only won't make the connection, but they're, for lack of a better term, offended by veganism because we eat the vegan junk food.
Right.
Like we do things that they will never do, because of their health, because they're managing an incredible, health perspective based on diet. And so they'll stick to what they're doing. They'll write their cookbooks. They'll walk around saying no oil, no salt, and, eat right and all of this, which is fantastic. And I wish I could get there myself. But they're not the ones who are going around saying they're vegan. They'll just say, no, I eat right.
Right.
I'm on a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet. So yeah, it's interesting that I always have felt that there's a way to coax over or better educate or for lack of a vegan term, lure some of those people over to say, join us, be vegan, let's work on this together. We'll help you with the animals side of it, and you can help us with the health food side.
Yeah,
of it.
exactly. It should be a sort of a two-way street. And I think it is it's cultural, right? It's there's something kind of about the archetypal personality in each group.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of incumbent on us as activists who are trying to, be effective with our work, to figure out how to bridge that and build sort of a more unified front. Because I think, we've had this conversation in our junk food episode. It's great to know how to do this, right? I mean, it's really amazing. I didn't really have any entry into the vegan health world until maybe 10 years ago. And I watched some people give testimonials at people who had been homeless, people who had extreme chronic health issues. And it was at this, this fancy fundraiser. So these people were bussed down, to talk about this, and probably had never, been in that kind of environment, and did amazing, giving these testimonials about what their life was really like. And I mean, that was the first sort of light bulb moment to me that it's this stuff is transformative. It's powerful. People don't feel like they have the tools to fix, there's this sort of perception that oh, well, you get old, you're going to get cancer, you're going to get heart disease, you're going to have all these crippling, ailments. And these people are now empowered with this information and the practical tools to, get healthier. And I never really thought about that before that day. And it really is very powerful. And I think if you combine that with, and by the way, if your main motivation is through health, and you're saying, and by the way, it's horrible what's happening to the animals. It is really that bad. I think that's not even really sort of entering into most people's consciousness if that's their main motivation in the vegan world. So I think there's got to be something there. And, from a kids and family point of view, I think kids are way more open-minded to sort of both of those messages. It's much easier to get kids to eat broccoli if you're telling them that, they can be a super vegan helping the animals when they are eating broccoli.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So much of it's about how we were raised ourselves, and old habits and cultural, traditions and beliefs that keep people on their track, their dietary track sometimes. So you said you walk away from these events also with recipes?
Yeah.
You can make what was being made?
Yeah, we can make what was being made, and then they give you a recipe book for the whole session. And then there's additional recipes in there. So they're all just healthy recipes, some of which I still use. I mean, last year they had Chef AJ on, who I love. And so a lot of her recipes were in last year's book and this year's book. And we make that kind of stuff all the time. Although, to be honest, sometimes I throw a little avocado on top of the chili or whatever. But hey, I realize it's such a parallel world, because I realize how irritated I get when people make comments that would be the equivalent of that in the animal rights context. When I tell people, I'm vegan for the animals, and they're well, I just like a little chicken now and then. It's oh my God, why are you telling me this? But I'm doing the exact same thing to the health people. I'm I'm into health. I identify with this. Let me into your club, but I still want my avocado or whatever.
Saute in oil. I'm not going to saute in water.
I'm not that into oil. I have been able to mostly get past it in my own cooking. I do feel it doesn't, we can get past it. Especially if I'm not really strict about salt, I can put broth, and that can be really tasty.
Yep. Oh yeah. So that it might be a good segue to our episode's content about meal planning, because do you come away from these types of events, do you personally, with ideas to feed your family? Do you come away with recipes that your own kids will eat, that your family will eat? Are these opportunities to sort of round out better, not just healthier foods, but easier to prepare foods because you watch them being prepared? Does this help with your feeding your family?
Yeah, I think here's what's happening with feeding families, right? Like, and you can, I'm sure, like, have had the same experience. And we've talked a little bit about kitchen gadgets and stuff like that. But like, the problem is sometimes you're hungry and sometimes you feel like cooking, and those things do not always align.
Right.
And then you have, like little hands just constantly sort of making demands both for eating and for other things, right? Like my younger one would way rather like have play pirates or Batman than, have dinner or whatever. So it's a question of like, how do you kind of put a system in place that actually is going to work when you are not like really that motivated to cook?
Yeah, that is a challenge. And I have been finding myself very busy lately, professionally, a lot going on with Compassion Over Killing, but also just, as we talked about in a previous episode, the return to the school year. Yeah. And so meal planning per se becomes more challenging. It becomes something that I quite frankly can't always do, or we can't always do in the house, to be able to, on a Sunday night, I've seen a lot of people do it, preparing all of their cut up vegetables, which is a big thing that Colleen Patrick Goudreau talks about. Getting all of your foods lined up for Monday through Friday, and this is going to alternate rice between pasta, between this and that. It's not always easy. And so I have found, and I know you have as well, there are some meal services that can help families put food on the table. So one of which is called VegReady. And this gentleman, Mark, started the company probably 3 or 4 years ago when I first met him. And he's created shelf-stable meals that are sort of centered around a rice or a quinoa that you then put vegetables or a salsa and stir it in. So it's very simple, meals that you can take on the go. You can take them on airplanes, in fact. You can leave them in your office desk drawers. It's an easy way to, first of all, eat vegan. He's very much behind the animal rights messaging, which is an insert in the food, in the food packaging when you get it, how many animals you're saving. But also, it's just a great way to make sure you're able to eat a healthy meal, and of course, the convenience of it. And I do want to say that there is a link I would encourage our listeners to check out, and that's Trivedge.com/VegReady. And if you go through that link, you get a special deal. And also, Mark and the VegReady team will very generously donate money back to Compassion Over Killing, because they, of course, believe in all of what we do at Compassion Over Killing. So go to Trivedge.com/VegReady. Check out these meals. They'll ship to you in a box. And then, like I said, they're really very convenient because you don't have to refrigerate or freeze them. And you can eat them right out of the package, and they last for a very long time.
That's really cool. And it's funny because we always say you can help animals at every meal by eating vegan, but now that's like doubled because now you can help them by eating vegan and by supporting us.
That's a great point, yeah. So buy a lot of them, and you're making a donation back to Compassion Over Killing. You're also saving animals by eating a 100% plant-based meal. That's, again, just very convenient and delicious. So that's Trivedge.com/VegReady. And then,
let me just say about the VegReady, which I have not tried, and I should try it because the shelf stable thing is a big deal. Especially with the school, you're trying to get everybody having like a good lunch, get them out the door with a good breakfast. I'm trying to get to work with a lunch. That can be nice. And then I found, especially with the kids, like if we're going somewhere for the day or whatever, they want to be like out and about while they're eating, and they want to be able to kind of come back and eat and then like take off again. So it's, I've sort of been mentally kind of organizing my week in a way that's like, okay, on Thursdays and Sundays, realistically, given like the rhythms of our family and schedules, those are the days that I can really cook and plan meals and, spend some time really having like a real deal dinner. Realistically on Friday, we're going to be out. Realistically on Saturday, like they're going to be running around the neighborhood, like trying to, hang out and do stuff. We may get there on Saturday. But we may be doing other things. And so those are my sort of anchor days that I'm like, okay, that's the day that I'm going to focus on. And there might be other days that we do the same thing where otherwise it's like, what are we doing the rest of the time? It's going to be what can we grab and how can we make what we're grabbing actually healthy and appealing and all of that. Yeah.
Well, and you just made me realize something else too. And the sale is $30 for 8 meals right now, 50% off the usual price. And it would be perfect for sporting events. And that, our kids are young, so a sporting event to us would be the soccer game or, the flag football game. So it's somewhere where, in my case, I'm having to go at 6 p.m. in a lot of instances and sit there for an hour and a half, which would have been dinner time, right? And so by the time the practice or the game ends, the kids think it's dinner time because they just finished doing something, although they've eaten before we went there. There's that struggle of, did we already have dinner? And if you had something like this on hand, ready to go, then you could just, peel back the plastic, stir the 3 things together, stick a spoon in their hand, and they'll eat it. So, yeah, definitely worth.
Well,
worth
I think
the
sort of presentation of like you can have this little tray and you can mix it together and eat it. They just love anything that is handed to them that way.
Oh yeah, that's a great point too.
And then I think,
right.
With say like a soccer, it's funny because with my older one, when he wanted to play soccer, he did great. And then sometimes he's like, I just don't want to play soccer today. I just want to lay around and eat snacks.
I know.
But either way, like kids who are playing a game where they're kind of like, it's very new for them to do this sort of. So, I mean, they've only been on the planet like a few years. So it's a big deal. Right.
I think about that all the time.
So it's a big deal that like, they're doing all this and then they're hungry. So then either they're going to suck down like, sugary snacks or other unhealthy snacks, or you're going to have something like quinoa and rice to give them. Yeah. But they're definitely going to want to eat like right in that moment. And I feel like this is part of like having children is like, you got to pick the right moments, and be prepared for that.
Be prepared. Exactly. Right. So there's another meal service, plant-based meal delivery service that I'm in love with. And I, as much as I love VegReady, I have to say when this box came in the mail, Cheryl, I was absolutely blown away. And so I could talk for a long time about this company and what they're selling and how delicious their meals are. But it's Vistro. So for those of you who don't know, go to Vestro.com. In fact, better yet, go to tryvestro.com/Trivedge. I'll say that again in a bit. For an incredible introductory offer of 6 meals for only $49. And that's what we got in the mail.
Yeah, I got a box of that too. It was awesome. I think they are LA based because I had known them from maybe 1 or 2 years ago. And yeah, their food, the quality of their food is excellent. Like just full stop.
That's outstanding.
Their food is really good. I don't know, like, how do you feel this, like what they do would or would not kind of fit into your, sort of weekly routine or schedule? Like, does it work for you or how would you use it?
Oh, it would, without a doubt. So again, for our listeners, Cheryl and I were lucky enough to have this 6-meal sample pack sent to us because it's part of, again, a promotion being done with Trivedge.com. And in this 6-meal plan, we got a red curry with tofu, country fried chicken, enchilada, breakfast burrito, Tuscan calzone, and pasta bolognese. Now, every one of those dishes, again, when we were talking about this sort of whole foods plant-based diet and how to eat healthy, I don't know if any one of these
they're pretty healthy.
That,
like they're like sort of a B plus.
Okay, we'll call it a B plus. Well, I'll call it a B plus in terms of health, but I'll call it an A plus in terms of just like savory deliciousness. So if I had these, or I should say when I have these on hand, because of course I'm going to go to trivestro.com/Trivedge. When I have these on hand, these fit right into it because they heat up really quickly. If you do them in the microwave, it's quick. I actually do them in the oven. It still takes only about 15 to 20 minutes to warm them up. And it's a full meal. And for us, kids are different. This isn't a full meal for your family. In terms of a portion size, if I heated up any one of these packages from Vestro, I could split it straight down the middle for the two kids. And it's enough food, at least for the two kids. I was very impressed with the size of the burrito. It was as big as my head. The enchilada brick was also huge. I mean, I think it's a really good deal. And as you said, the quality of ingredients and just the fun quality of putting together a country fried chicken meal that has gravy and 2 vegan chicken breasts and vegetables and mashed potatoes. I mean, that's like the food of my people. Like anything that comes with gravy. I love what they're doing. I think they're doing just an incredible job. And I really encourage people to give it a try.
It was funny because with the chicken thing, which is obviously vegan chicken, like my younger one who's never had animal chicken, was like, oh, this tastes like chicken. I'm like, how do you even know this? I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard for me to think about how I would integrate this regularly for a couple of reasons. One is we shared them like when we tried them, and everybody like loved the different options. They were all really good, but like they were destroyed in like a minute. Gone. Yeah, so I thought of this more as like a snack. I think if they would offer like family size, like the enchilada thing was really nice. It'd be nice if they would offer like a 6 people kind of thing, because our 4 people are like 6. But like like sort of I'm picturing like the old school like Stouffer's lasagna kind of thing. Like if we had that vegan version in the enchilada casserole, that would be like really good. It's great for like you're out and about and you want to feed them something, but it wouldn't last us very long. Like it would be,
Yeah, you're right. You'd fire through the whatever most recently was sent to you in just a few days, because each one of them lasts.
I would say like one day,
so
maybe
there
1.5 days.
Yeah,
but that's just 4 people.
There is that,
if
but
you're one person or 2 people, it's different.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, and this is a podcast for families, and so if you're still planning your family, let's say, or if you're still single and one day thinking about starting a family, we still care about you and we still want to feed you. These meals would be amazing for someone who lives on their own and is in a hurry and wants to be vegan. I mean, I can't imagine a better way of making the transition if someone isn't vegan than subscribing to something like Vestro. Getting this 6-pack to get started, and then just however long they send it to you, every couple of weeks or a month or whatever, getting these meals in the mail would be fantastic. They're so convenient.
Oh, you know what I just thought of when you're saying that? I think this would be perfect for a pregnant person. This would be like, I'm just like putting myself
right.
Perfect. Because it's like the heartiness of it. And it's not like, like some foods when you're pregnant, you don't really know, but by proxy, like some foods are immediately disgusting when you're pregnant. And the smells and
smells.
And it's like, you can't imagine ever eating it again. And this food is like the polar opposite. It's like exactly what you would want, where it's like you go into like the feeding frenzy. And then
I need that. Yeah.
If you wanted to do something like help somebody who just had a new baby, we do like, so you have the like, the meal train culture and all that stuff, which is really cool. It would be great to stock somebody's freezer with this stuff. Vegan or not, like, I mean, especially because, new moms want like, the energy and the health and all that stuff. Like anybody down to the most like, sort of vegan skeptical,
Hardcore.
like, Midwesterner in my mind.
Yeah.
I would send this kind of thing to them, and I could see them wanting to keep doing it.
I think that's a huge opportunity for Vistro. I mean, there aren't that many recently given birth people out there, but the ones that are out there, that's exactly what you're talking about here. Because you as a vegan, me as a vegan, will make a casserole for someone, and I'll make it vegan. I'll usually make like a lasagna, vegan lasagna, and drop it off to someone who just had a baby. And then that way they can defrost it when they want to. They can defrost half of it when they want to. Those meals that you drop off because you know that they're super tired, they're very busy, and as you say, they want something very filling, very quick, savory, most likely. And this is exactly what those are. So if you're not a cook, if you're not someone who likes to cook, if you're not someone who's creative and can come up with these things, as you were saying, for your vegan friend, your veg curious friend, or even your meat eating friend, this is the kind of thing that you should just send to them. It's trivestro.com/Trivedge to get that 6-pack for $49.
Yeah, that's a really good deal.
Such a deal.
We may not have made this clear. What's kind of cool about this is it's frozen, so you can just like mail it to anyone. So like, thinking about like somebody who's having a new baby or whatever, like you could be, I could be in California and they can be in Chicago. Like I've got 3 new nibblings coming in the next several months, in different parts of the country. And yeah, their moms are getting my sister and sister-in-law are getting some frozen food. Yeah.
I'm doing it too. I just thought of 2 people who need this, and I'm going to send it to them because it's much better than, trying to finagle some food that you may or may not get around to making and try to drop off. And
right, especially if you're not local or if somebody's like, hey, what should I try? And you're like, here you go. It's in the freezer. I mean, especially if you have little kids and they're not going to restaurants. Like part of vegan culture, I think, at least in my pre-kid days, was everybody getting super excited about a new local restaurant. Well, not all of your friends and family are going to be A, local to you, and B, if they have little kids, they're like not going to be taking these kids to like, Candle Cafe or something.
Never going out to eat.
Like I feel like I'm just like getting out of that fog. Like I can kind of take them to a restaurant if I like really prep them in the car, like you're going to be sitting, right? Deal, high five, pinky swear, whatever. But like,
you get a toy when you're done.
But that early sort of in the trenches world, like how could a person try new vegan food really get into it and become sort of, feel confident in it unless it's showing up on their doorstep?
Yeah. Yep. Now this is a perfect place to put a soundbite.
It's time for another cute kid quote.
All right, wait. So you first told me that everybody's supposed to be vegan, right? Mm-hmm. And why did you say that?
Because them supposed to be vegan.
How come?
Because them think that animals make them grow better.
They think that, and
faster.
Are they right about that?
No.
And what we were saying about a long time ago?
Them supposed to do
And what were they eating then? Leaves.
Bananas.
Okay, what else?
And everything else that monkeys eat.
Okay, and then they became like human, and then why'd they start eating animals?
Because them see that grow better.
So we should just explain to them that they can grow big and strong by being vegan? And you think that will make everybody vegan?
Wait, if we make one person vegan, then to go to their friends, and then to say, be vegan because that makes you know that animal's dead. Right?
Yeah, they could tell their
Then
friends.
you have to throw away your fishing rods and don't even fish again.
You think that'll work?
Then I'm like, walk away.
Do kids like Vistro? Tell me about your experience with your own kids.
My older one just likes food in general, so he's a very easy sell. But he loved this stuff. This was his first time having red curry, which like Thai red curry, which like I told him I was like got myself in trouble in college eating way too much Thai curry. And so he might just get that for me. But yeah, so now like, you know, whenever we go out to eat or talk about what should we get for dinner if we're going to go out somewhere, he's always asking about Thai curry, and that's because he tried it there. But yeah, nice. And then I got like one of those bolognese noodles because it was almost all gone. It's like, you know, it's like sometimes it's like you catch your dog like eating like a loaf of bread or something and you're like, can I save like 2 slices? Like that's how it felt. I'm like, I just want at least one noodle, stop. And then I think my younger one, who's more, let's say more discerning about things, he really liked some of it. And some of the rest of it, he was just kind of like, you know, esteemed vegetables, like, you know, that's not super exciting to him. But for anything that's like more prepared, he really dug it.
And that calzone,
I didn't even get to try the calzone. That got eaten when I wasn't even home.
Oh my gosh. So it was again, just like a full size restaurant quality delivery service calzone and all vegan. And so I'm amazed at how, you know, Bistro's pulled together these chefs, these recipes to create these truly authentic, almost like mimic meals that, as you said, if you put these out, if you prepared these in such a way that you could plate them for company, they wouldn't even ask if it's vegan. They would just eat it. Yeah. It's all that good. So I'm holding one of the packages right now. I held on to it for this episode. So Vistro's tagline is "Plants, Please," because of course all of their food is plant-based, chef-created, preservative-free, and the box says it's delicious. So the box must actually eat the meal. But I would agree with the box. And there's 2 different heating instructions: stovetop, depending on which you're heating up. It's whether or not it's recommended. You could just heat it on a skillet, and then all of them are microwavable dishes as well. So, looking at the ingredients, as I said, of course, all plant-based, all vegan. Many of the ingredients on this particular package are organic, as well as kosher. And so this hits a lot of the boxes for what people who are vegan and plant-based and or plant-based, people who are veg curious, of course, vegetarians, all would really, I honestly could say, enjoy and appreciate these meals. Yeah,
I think one thing that's kind of unusual about them is how much emphasis they are putting on this chef creation and food quality. Like the quality is noticeably going to be better. It really feels like a good restaurant or a good home cooked meal, not as much like, you know, a TV dinner. I don't know if that's even still used, but you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. It does not feel or look that way. So I would definitely give it a try. So that again, finally, try vistro.com/Trivedge if you want to get the 6-meal plan from Bistro for $49, or head over to trivedge.com/VegReady to try the VegReady meals. So these are all things that hopefully our dear listeners can learn from, bring into their own kitchen, serve to their own family. As we said, share with families that are growing. It's a great way to get the vegan meals out there. And as always, please subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review. Cheryl,
I can't wait.
It's been a fun episode.
Eat more food. Every time we talk about this food, I'm like steepling my fingers, like waiting to scheme to the next.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm half tempted to recommend we do a burger episode, because just yesterday I finally made the at-home Impossible burger, which we've been using the ground from Beyond Meat for a long time now. You know, not a long time, a couple of months. And so, yeah, I've got some pretty interesting stories behind that. But yeah, definitely eat well, go vegan, and subscribe, and please. And
leave us some feedback. Send us your kid quotes.
Yes, that is veganfamily@trivedge.com.
Thank you for tuning in to Animal Outlook's Vegan Family Podcast. Have episode ideas or questions about going vegan? Email us at govegan@trivedge.com.